Run into wide open spaces. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Yeah, oh, freedom. Oh, oh. Bring all of your burdens, bring all of your scars. Come back to commune, yeah, yeah. Come back to the start. Run into wide open spaces. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. Grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom. Let there be freedom. Yeah. Oh, freedom. Chains will fall, prisons shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Chains will fall, prisons shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Where the Spirit of the Lord
Sing the Lord. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Sing Amen. 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 And amen. 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 Sing the Lord bless. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Sing Amen. And amen. 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 Sing Amen. And amen. 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 Sing it out. And
his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family, your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family, your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family, your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family, your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you.
come on, sing Amen.
Amen. And amen. And amen. And amen. And amen. And amen.
May his favor.
May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family, your children, and the children,
But keep this in mind. We are generous to the world of thrifty. So, in the event that you're like, I would love to donate, we're accepting $5 donations for the shirt, but please keep this in mind. You do not have to get money. You do not have to pay for the shirt. You can just go. You can be like, I want a free shirt, and then walk away, get free. Get free. We did. Also, this next coming month, we will not have First Wednesday. First Wednesday service is usually for the first Wednesday of the month, but we'll be back in November. In November, we will have a First Wednesday. No First Wednesday this upcoming month.
That's right. That's right.
Is that all the announcements?
I think that's all we have. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you take 30 seconds, greet someone around you, and say happy 3-year anniversary. I forgot like an important part of the announcement. If you're a new person, if this is the first time you've been to Tribe, or maybe first time in a long time, and we don't have any information about you, you could always text the word new to the number that will appear on the screen here, and we'd love to get to know you. Exchange phone numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There it is.
Become
Right there.
best friends.
Yeah.
That's how you do that.
In 2021, that's how when you get to know someone, you exchange phone numbers. So that's
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. We're trying
Normally
to
we
start that
would give you a
relationship.
free shirt, but you're already getting that today. So it's kind of two birds, one stone.
It is.
Right?
Two birds.
Two birds, one stone.
Two birds, one stone.
So it's kind of crazy because last year we didn't get to like celebrate in person for our 2-year anniversary. It was online and it was a video. And I remember I think a lot more people watched it, but like it was airing and I'm like, there's not very many people watching this live. And I'm like, I really can't wait till we can get
It
in
was
this
so much work.
building and be able to meet together.
Right, right. One of the questions that people ask us sometimes when we go to different events and different conferences is they'll say, how old is your church? And I'm always like, that's kind of a complicated question. Because, or maybe it's an easy question, but it's a complicated answer because our church is kind of 4 years old, and it's kind of 3 years old, and it's also kind of turning 1 in November. Right?
Right, because we didn't get into the building until November of last year, and after being separated for like 7 or 8 months.
It's a long time.
It was a long time.
It's a long time. But 3 years ago, we launched. We had our very first Sunday ever on September 16th, 2018. But you can't just like one day not have a church and then the next day have a church. Like at one point, not everything in this room, but most of it passed through my house because we were portable at the time. We were meeting at the AMC movie theater. And so like we would order stuff for the church and we didn't have an address. So it just came to our house. So all the stuff in children's ministry, all of the signs, all of the speakers, like these speakers, like they were in my garage at one point. And so, 4 years ago.
I remember playing Africa by Toto.
I think our neighbors hated us.
Yeah, through these speakers in our neighborhood.
We had to see if they worked.
It was fun.
No, but so 4 years ago was really when we started this journey, and we want to tell just a quick story about that before we get started today.
Yeah, so we felt like God moving in our hearts for this idea of planting a church. And so we talked to a few people that are now the leadership team, and we were like, we're thinking about this. We're not really sure. We know there's an organization called ARC that can help church planters, that can help give us finances to get started and maybe get some training. And we know one of their other churches is on the north side, and it's called I-Town. Maybe we should go visit.
Tiny little church, you might have heard of.
Maybe we should go visit and see how, if this is something that we're interested in.
Right, and so that if you don't know I-Town.
We have a picture of our visit.
Yeah, we have a picture. So we get there, and they have this huge sign outside, and I was like, wow, that is really cool. I can't believe they put that out every week. They didn't. We just happened to be there. We get in, we get sat down with our team.
Yeah.
They do worship. Worship is awesome. And the pastors come up on stage, and they're like, happy 7th anniversary, iTown. Happy 7th.
They're like, we're going to tell you the story of how we planted a church and how, you plant churches. This is what you do. And I'm like, this is weird, right? Like, and then I feel like some of the people, like our leadership team was kind of like, is this on purpose? No, we just came up. Just a random day.
It was a Saturday night. It was August 12th, 2017. We had decided on August 5th, 2017, that we were going to try to start a church. And so this was the next service that iTown was having. And so, August 12th,
we have a picture of us, or me, signing onto a computer for articles of, yes, that is your house. You just sign up and you say, like, we want to do a church, and then you pay some money, and then I guess that's the end of it. At least that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, so that's it, right? That's all there is to it. Yeah. It was a little bit more complicated.
It was a little bit more complicated than that, but man, it was, and so I feel like there was just so much that happened during that time, and we're going to tell some more of those stories over the next couple of months as we move towards our November.
And we're just so
First
grateful
Wednesday.
to be here, because we know churches that planted after us, churches that planted before us, that through a lot of circumstances, including the pandemic, don't exist anymore. And so we're just so grateful to be here after 3 years, and still meeting, and still new people coming. And
that's right.
It's great.
We're so excited. We are so excited. We are so excited for our first 5 for 5 speaker. If you're not familiar with the 5 for 5 format, the way it's going to work, we have 5 communicators who are going to come up for 5 minutes each, and they're going to tell how their life is different than it was.
And they only get 5 minutes because we got to keep it moving. That's the sound they're going to hear if they go over 5 minutes. It's going to be right there. There's a timer up. There'll be a timer up there. Don't worry. I don't have a timer. I could go long as I want. We're very interactive here at Tribe. People.
That's right. So our very first communicator today has been with Tribe almost since the very beginning, has become a really good friend of Matt and I. And I don't want to tell you any of his story because I want it all to come to him. So I'm gonna bring him up. His name is Mr. Michael Meek.
My goal is to not hear that sound. So when I was trying to find the words and write this, wow, you really can't see anything. I realized that I was going to have to write it down and read most of it just because it's kind of still processing and still going through it. So without further ado, we say it every week, loved people, love people. But honestly, what does that really look like? This is what it looked like for me, and it's involved a lot of walking. In October 2014, it was walking out of a hospital with just a few pictures and memories of a son that never saw life. 6 months later, it was walking away from a failed marriage that left me with tremendous hurt and deep insecurity. My world was absolutely shattered, and my faith was right there with it. I was walking through the remains of everything I once believed. And regarding my faith, in hindsight, it was honestly everyone else's idea of who and what God is. And as you can imagine, that foundation didn't last long. We as humans are really quick to point fingers and shift blame as to why we find ourselves in specific situations. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't playing that game. I wish I could tell you the night only lasted for a moment, but it didn't. I wish I could say I leaned in and trusted God, but I didn't. I wish I could say that I never wanted to give up, but I absolutely did. And I wish I could stand up here and tell you I'm fully healed and restored, but I can't. Yet. Here's where we get to the thick of it. where the goodness and faithfulness of God shows up and shows out. And it all happens here and around Tribe, the church and the people. I came to Tribe needing a fresh start and a safe space to just be. I needed a community to help build what I was already working on. And I needed people who saw a future that I couldn't quite see yet. This was Tribe. From navigating dating in your 30s to asking hard questions and wrestling with those answers, and needing vent sessions about the weirdos you meet while dating in your 30s. I'm not talking about Maggie. I mean, honestly, she's wife material. So next week, babe. Tribe, you were so quick to come alongside and ensure I never walked alone through any of it, and I am beyond grateful. Tribe extends beyond these walls and into everyday life, whether it's movie nights with Matt and Carrie, pizza and bubble tea with David and Patty Ashbaugh. But seriously, why is bubble tea a thing? Talking Funko Pops and fantasy football with Adam Hutchinson, and randomly seeing Justin and Jenny at more than one restaurant. There were so many times you came alongside, and I'm grateful. You guys have even welcomed, loved, and encouraged Maggie as part of the community. The truth is, I'm still on this journey of being made whole again, and I don't know if it'll ever be done on this side of eternity, but I can testify to two truths. The first, God is good, and even in the midst of deep tragedy and hurt, he is faithful. And two, loved people love people. Thank you for loving me well, and happy birthday.
I get to marry him and his fiance next week. It's fine. I'm fine.
I kind of hate this day.
When they asked me to marry them, they proposed to me, which was amazing. I feel like when Matt gets asked to marry people, they're like, "Hey, Matt, you want to marry us?" But me, I get special things. It's kind of fun. And I said, "I'm the right person. You've made the right call because I prayed Maggie into existence." And I was sort of joking, and he looked me right in the eyes. He's like, "Yes, you did." So, oh my goodness, I know, right? Okay, so we started off with a bang, right? I am so excited to hear from our next person because she is the youngest person that we have in our 5 for 5, and I love having people who are still at the beginning of their journey, of their walk with God.
I'm just getting it together. It's fine. I'm getting it together.
You do some deep breaths.
Yeah.
You do some deep
You're
breaths.
doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I got you, man. That's why we co-lead.
High fives.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited for this next person because she has a really powerful testimony. She has a really cool story, and I just love her.
And then after this,
a lot.
everybody can be like, "Oh, she talked to me at the same time," because that's usually a thing.
Yeah. If you have had a conversation with Morgan Strom, you know that you have made it.
You have made it.
You have
now
made
you're all
it.
part of it.
So come on up, Morgan.
Okay, so when Carrie asked me to come and do this, she said to talk about something that has changed in my life in the last year relating to Jesus in church, and obviously I said I would do it, but then I got thinking, and I was like, I am someone who has been a Christian my entire life. I've always gone to church, so really how big of a change could I have in that part of my life, right? Well, wrong. I got thinking, and I was like, that's really not true at all. I have been a Christian my entire life, but when especially in high school and as I was going into college, I would definitely say that I was not very adamant in my faith. I was much more of a lukewarm Christian, which is not a very good thing. And I would definitely say that in the last year or a couple of years, it's really changed. And I attribute a lot of that to going to church here, especially more recently. And it really all started when I started serving. So, yeah, serving here at Tribe has really had a big impact on my faith. I feel like when I started serving as the photographer, which is what I do if you didn't know that, I started really to take a hold of my faith and make it my own. It wasn't just like I'm a Christian because my parents are Christians and that's how they raised me, if that makes sense. It was more like it's my faith, and it sparked a deeper passion for God than I really ever felt in my life, which I thought was really cool. And then building off of that, when I started serving, I also started to feel a sense of community here at Tribe, and that's something that I've never really felt at a church before. I never really felt a part of that, like any of the churches that I've gone to. It's always been like I was like more of a visitor than a part of it. And then especially after I started serving, I was like, this church is my church too. I felt very much a part of it, and just going along with that sense of community, I started to feel a sense of belonging, which, like I said, I've never felt at a church before. And so I just think that to be loved by people like the people here at Tribe is really a special thing. And then going off of that, I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to talk about this or not because it's personal and I don't like talking personal stuff. But an area of my life that I've always felt very lacking in is family. I have a pretty rough relationship with a lot of my family, and there's a big chunk of my immediate family that I have really no relationship with. And I've really struggled with that my whole life, and I've always kind of felt like I've had a hole in my life from that, if it makes sense. And when I say that I feel a sense of community here, I really mean that the people here have started to fill that hole that I've felt from the poor relationships I have with some of my own family. And it really means a lot to me, and I appreciate the people here and how loving and welcoming they've been to me, especially in the last year. The way that the people here at Tribe just come around you and support you is just amazing. And I can't wait to see how this church continues to touch the lives of the people around it.
You're not going to make it.
It's fine. That was really good. I know. It's just I love too, because I feel like from the very beginning we've talked a lot about like we're like, oh, you should get involved, you should serve, and people are like, oh, you just need to serve because you need people to help out in areas. And I'm like, well, that is accurate, but also it benefits you and it helps you feel like you're actually part of stuff. You get to meet people, because so many times people come into a church and they come for a while and then they don't come and they're like, well, no one really noticed I was gone. And we're like, yeah, because we didn't really get to know you. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of hung around in the back, which is, it's not really what it's about. It's about being part of a community and then becoming like family. And it's really good. I thank you for sharing. I know that was really hard for you.
You're okay?
I'm okay.
All right. Our next communicator she's just awesome. She's the kind of person, she makes me want to be a better person. Like when I'm around her, that's how I feel. And so I don't think there's anything else that you can say. I just want to bring her up. Her name's Carrie Ponder.
Okay, so most of you know who I am, but I'm going to start with, I made a huge decision on July 4th to recommit my life to God. So there's some history behind that. I've always been in and out of church my life. My great-grandma took me, my dad took me, but 728 days ago, my life changed a lot. I lost my best friend, my first best friend, my hero, my dad. Sorry. And with that, I was angry. I was frustrated. I became numb. I was in denial. And so I had some choices to make. Either I could turn to a very toxic way to live, or I could turn towards God. And in that decision, I decided I was going to turn towards God. And I decided I needed a new job. And my dad's favorite snack in all time was popcorn. And in March of 2020, I started a new job at a popcorn company. So that was like my first note that, God was working in my life. So I proceeded, everybody knows the pandemic hit. And I've always heard you got to surround yourself by 5 strong people. I met a guy that is probably is on the same level as Matt Dilley as far as being spiritual. And he started pouring into me. And I realized that I don't have to have that person by me every day, but through a text message, a phone call. And he just really pushed me towards digging deeper in my faith. So then came the beginning of 2021, and I decided my word of the year was going to be health. And it wasn't just going to be, my emotional health or physical health, mental health. It was going to be my spiritual health and going on that journey. So I joined a all-women's Bible group, and these women started to pour into me, and I got to share my story of my life. And so I started praying a lot on Psalms 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And this verse has stuck with me for almost a year and a half. And to me, I lean on God and I allow him to continue the process of healing my broken heart. God loves me and will comfort me during this time and then place me to where I can endure strength to comfort others. So that verse, to me, I've had some friends lose their parents, and I've been able to pour into them and let them know that they'll never be the same, but they can live a better life through God and to turn towards God. So in June, I went to Carrie Dilley, and I told her that I wanted to be baptized on July 4th. For one, it's my favorite holiday. I know people think that's crazy, but I'm a very independent person, and I'm born in July. And so I've always felt that Freedom Day is all about what us as Americans should celebrate. So I asked Carrie Dilley and Amanda Straw, who actually brought me to Tribe back in 2019, to be part of my day. So I'll just end with this. Over the last few weeks, I've been praying on Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord, your God, will be wherever you go. Thanks.
Yeah. 0 for 3. 0 for 3.
It's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. I'm so glad I haven't had to use that sound yet, because people are emotional, and I'm like, meh, meh, meh. Wrap it up. That wouldn't play really well, would it? Yeah.
One of the things I love about Carrie Ponder is just how generous she is. When we do our At the Movies in November, and the first week we had Smart Pop, and she came up to me and she was like, how dare you buy Smart Pop? Like, what do you think you're doing? And then she provided, through her company, she was able to provide us with the popcorn for the rest of At the Movies, which was just the coolest thing. Just the coolest thing. I love it.
Which, by the way, At the Movies starts next month. So.
Yes. So excited. So excited. Yeah. So last week we told you that Justin and Jenny are going to be leaving Tribe. I know, right? Like, can I just say, one of the core values of Tribe that's sort of an unwritten core value is that we're playful. If you look at our social media, we are playful. If you look at the way we interact with each other, I mean, at one point today, we have a member of the leadership team who, because of different circumstances, has not been here for a month.
Yeah.
Sickness and soccer games and things like that. And when that person got here today, we had put up missing persons posters all over the church. And so when we told you Justin and Jenny were going to be leaving Tribe, we really thought as a group you guys were going to be like,
You know what I mean? Like, oh no. And you guys were all like, no, boo.
Yeah,
like,
boo.
Yeah, like
I was like,
just-
wow.
It was playful. it was perfect. I love it. And so we purposefully didn't tell you very much of their story because we wanted to give them the opportunity to tell it themselves. So, Justin and Jenny, quickly, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go. So, cool. Well, you know, with two people up here, it's, even though we are, you know,
Might use that thing,
we are one and the
both
same,
of us.
you know, we're also different people and have different stories, right? And when I started coming to the tribe, it was, you know, I was able to jump in a little bit quicker, you know, than Jenny was, so it's really cool to see her kind of up here doing her thing. So I'm gonna let you kind of share what you know, want to share first, and then I'll, if there's any time, go after you.
So this year has definitely been one for the books for us. And I was kind of in a similar situation as Morgan, that looking back on it, I realized that it started a little bit sooner than I thought it did. So when we came to this building last November, you know, we went from that little makeshift stage at the movie theater to this big stage up here. And I remember I was sitting in the back, and I remember thinking kind of just how empty it looked up here with just Justin and Fonda, and I think Jeremy was here that day. And I had always kind of had a little nudge on my heart to lead worship. It was something that I've been thinking of for a little while. And when I saw this stage when we came here on that first day, I felt that little nudge again. And last November, I stepped up on this stage in front of all of you guys and sang for the first time since like 4th grade choir in front of anybody else. But reflecting on it now, I realized that saying yes to God and that little nudge that day led to a series of yeses that I received from God from then on.
That's good.
So a few months later, in January of this year, my parents graciously offered to pay for a certification program for me to become a certified health and wellness nurse coach. And I had dreams of doing that, and I thought it would be years away, and suddenly it was just right there in front of me. And as I started this program and started learning more about what it means to be a nurse coach, I just saw God and his love in just all of it. You know, from what it means to just listen deeply to people, to believe in others, to, you know, what it means to like truly connect with ourselves. It all just stemmed back to what it means to follow Jesus for me. And week after week, Matt and Carrie would be up here, and those nudges just continued for me. And each message that they shared just affirmed everything of what we were feeling. You know, Carrie talked about honor, I think one first Wednesday. And then, you know, the entire Art of Neighboring series, and even now with the How to Not Be Your Own Worst Enemy. Like, all of that just related back to coaching to me and what it means to just truly come alongside people and help them in their health journey, but also just in their life. So if I hadn't said yes to God last year, I don't really know what we'd be doing today.
Yeah.
And to be honest, saying yes to God hasn't been easy, and it's actually really been one of probably the harder years that I've been through personally, but I've learned more about myself and what it means to truly follow Jesus than I really ever have before. And saying yes to God, he allowed me to discover my purpose and you know, who I was created to be as a nurse and as a coach. So
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so just kind of from my perspective, you know, I've been in church my entire life. I mean, since the day I was like born. So to be able to see Jenny kind of step into this role at Tribe, I'm like, she wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for Tribe. So just my role as a best friend and a husband, just seeing that, you know, I'm incredibly grateful that Tribe was able to plant that in her, but essentially also plant that in me too, right? Because we've been able to grow, I mean, so much in this last year, more than I've ever thought we could ever, right? And it's because of, putting into place and practice what, our pastors, Matt and Carrie, preach, really applying that, made us able to, to know that it's okay to step out into the unknown, into the scary, into the things that you don't know what's going to happen, because God is God and God is good no matter what, right? So to be able to step out and do that wouldn't even be a thing if it wasn't for Tribe, to go out and start our own business, to leave everything we have, to leave our house, our friends, our family, and move across the nation. I mean, it's a scary thing, but we know God is in it 1,000%. We know that we've got the backing and support of our friends and our family and Tribe and our pastors, and that's not something we'll ever forget. I mean, Tribe is forever cemented into our hearts and the way we think, and every decision we have from here on out, it'll be stuff we've learned and put together from Tribe and our friends and our family here. And what's crazy, and I know we're going over 5 minutes here, but like,
There's two of us.
I remember getting a call from Matt. I'd never talked to him before in my entire life. I had actually been working and leading music at iTown Church, where you guys were talking about. I was there for about 5 years, and I got a phone call, and it was like, hey, man, I got your number from, I don't know if it was from Tyler or Dave or whoever, but, and originally I told them no. I was like, hey, I'm going to stay where I'm at, and somehow still ended up here on the very first service of all time and just never left. So, but I grew up in Plainfield. I always wanted a church in Plainfield. I grew up in the same neighborhood that Matt and Carrie live in now. So to be able to be here the last 3 years and be able to serve and to pour into the city that I grew up wishing there was a church here, is something that, I just hold very near and dear. So I'm grateful for Tribe, for everything, grateful for what we're about to embark on. And we just thank you guys so much. We love you all so much for your support and just everything. And being up here leading, I mean, it's great, but it's worshiping with you guys that makes everything even, it makes it worth it to be able to look out and, see a sea of people all worshiping. And it's just, I'm very, very fortunate. We're very blessed to be able to help, lead you guys into that. And we just love you guys so much. We love you a lot. And this won't be the end. We'll see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the TLDR, the Too Long Didn't Read version of that is we preached them right out of this church. Like,
Preached so good they left.
yeah, preached so good they were like, all right, we can't be here anymore. Yeah.
I'm so glad there's not like a camera up there, because you would just see me just like transform into the ugly crying. I think this thing is so, I love the 5 for 5 so much, because I think even if you're just like, I don't know these people, this is like one of my first Sundays, that's okay, because the thing is like, that is what happens at church, right? You see people, you're like, oh, I know they go here. I might know their name, but like, I don't know their story. And I love so much that you get to hear what people have been going through and how God's been moving in their life. And you get to hear part of their story. And people up here have been sharing so like private and intimate things. And I'm just so proud of them. It's such a cool thing.
It's awesome.
Because it's so easy to go into a church and just see like, oh, I know they go to church with me, but I don't know anything about them.
So our last 5 for 5 communicator was sitting at our
He's already
table.
warned me I got to have this ready. So, but
was-
apparently that doesn't matter, because production does whatever they want.
I texted them.
So Carrie does whatever she wants.
Correct. No, Chris Straw was the first person that we asked to be part of the 5 for 5 today. And we asked him back in like February or March of last year. He was sitting at our table, talking to us about money, helping the church get on a budget, helping the church figure out how to make things work. And he started telling his story. And Matt and I were both just like, dude, people have to hear your story. And so we were like, we want you to be part of the 5 for 5. And he was like, no. And yeah. And here we are today.
He still said no. We just put his name up here. We'll see what happens. No, I'm just kidding.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Straw.
Okay, making sure it's on. And these are cue cards for those that keep using their phone. Just to let you know that. This is what we used before you had phones. For me, it's always been the financial side. It seems like we were the ones that showed up to church and they were always talking about the tithe. I don't know why. When we were trying to find a church. We found a church in 2009, Grace Church in Mooresville. Went through FPU there, got our finances in straight, started tithing 10%. It hurts no matter what. Then there was a fallout. Basically, they fired the lead pastor and we left the church. And it was probably 3 or 4 years. I don't remember exactly when we were put on the same soccer team with the Dillies, but 18, a long time. So, and ironically, we had been to I-Town, liked I-Town, but every time we went there, there was a major weather event, snow, tornadoes, I don't know. I just felt like it was a sign. So when Tribe launched, I wasn't sold. Amanda was more sold than I was. I just wasn't. I didn't know if Matt and Carrie could do what I needed. It wasn't until I had breakfast with Matt at Flapjacks that I decided, and I came home, and our finances were out of order again. I mean, this is a big deal to me. I mean, I'm a budgeter. I'm a nerd, okay? So it was one of those things to where when I came back and I said, I feel like we should give to them. I mean, they're just starting out. They need help. They need to get this church launched. And, I mean, they were launched, but I'm just saying I could tell. I wanted to help. So we jumped in with that 10%, and it hurt again. And we were not budgeting. I was just feeding the account with money. You know how you just look at your bank account and say, this is how much money I have. And so in that first week, auto repair, $300 or $400. I knew it. It happens every time. But then after that, things just started happening. We were in debt quite a bit. When I do stupid at a very high degree. So we, bought a camper one day, financed it, 15 years. That's how that is. So, but the one verse that always kind of comes back to me, it's from Dave Ramsey, FPU, and of course my phone's gonna mess up. It's Proverbs 22:7, the rule rich over the poor, and the borrower slave to the lender. I don't like people being, Enneagram 1, I don't like control. I don't like people being around, having control of me. And so we decided, we were working on getting out of debt, but we decided to really have at it and get out of it. And then the pandemic happened. And you may or may not know, I write software for a living, and my industry exploded because everybody was at home. And so I was getting all kinds of contracts and doing all kinds of additional things. And we paid off all of our debt. We do have our house, but we're effectively non-mortgage debt free and have been since, I don't know, like January of this year, I think was our last. The one thing that happened though during that time, as everybody was locked down, you had people that were suffering bad. People lost their job. I felt guilty. I even told Matt that. I think it was the night we had the little party at our house because we couldn't really meet. And I think if you guys remember, we had the thing at our house. And I told him, I felt horrible. I said, what? I mean, here I am paying off a lot of debt. And I still feel guilty. And then here I am thinking, once we paid off our debt, now we can start, investing for the future, giving more. And then my big contract, which with the state, it was just going in a direction I didn't like. When I contract with the government, which is majority what I do, I ask, am I doing the taxpayer good? And I could not answer that. I couldn't answer it for a while. And so I left. That contract ended in May, 30% to 40% decrease in pay. We're fine. We have no debt. So it's been one of those things, though, that what really bothers me, because I've always been a giver, is is if Matt and Carrie need something, I don't have the ability just to write a check now. Or if somebody needs something, I would, I can't just write that check or give them that money. The one thing I could say to anybody that's in this room, and Matt and Carrie just went through the financial piece or the financial tithing, if you want to say it. They don't want your money. I can tell you that. They just want you here. It's more that it changes your outlook of money. It's no longer my money. It's what money I'm gifted with, what God is blessed with. Yeah. And the church, this building costs money. I mean, it's expensive to run a church. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's astonishing. And so all I can ever say is, even if you can't tithe or you can't, just do one thing. If you're out, not when you're in a drive-through, people do this all the time, paying for the person behind them. If you're a Walmart, Kroger, I don't know, maybe it's $20, $30. Pay for the person behind you, do something, and just watch. It's a greedy feeling. I'm telling you, you feel better than they do. And don't do it around Christmas. Just do it randomly in the middle of the year. Just pay for somebody's meal. You don't even have to, you could do it anonymously and just see how it changes how you look at things. If you do it enough, it may change your life. And hey, I don't know where I was at.
Well, we'll work on that later. It's okay. It's okay.
So I'm not going to share, but the straws have helped a lot on a lot of little things that you probably don't even know about. One of my favorite things, though, is right before I had that breakfast with Chris, one of our biggest givers, if not the biggest giver, they moved, right? Because we do a real good job preaching people away.
Right out of the church.
They moved, and I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to survive. And sat down with Chris and didn't.
No idea.
No idea.
No idea.
And they started giving, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they just replaced the people that were giving before, like the amount that they're giving. And I'm like, man, if that doesn't, like, I was freaking out. I'm like, what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? And God's like, just chill out, all right? Go have breakfast and just see what happens. And it's just been, and not including their amazing friendship, but just leading the way and setting the pace for this church. It's amazing.
I also, when I think about Chris and Amanda, I think about Amanda's Instagram, and just if you have time sometime, just scroll through that, because you will see, since they've been at Tribe, in pictures together of their family, they have inched closer and closer together over the last 3 years. I don't even know if you know this. And the look on both of their faces is there's just more joy. I see so much more joy from their family. I see so much more joy in them as a couple. Like, one of the things that we say all the time here at Tribe is we love happy marriages. And that's what I see when I look at them. You gonna be all right?
I'm fine. It's fine. I didn't cry at all today.
We have one more thing in store for you today. It's been our honor to present this service to you today. We are so thankful for each one of our 5 for 5. Can we give it up for them one more time?
When we watch those things and you see, I mean, those people, not that long ago, I mean, they didn't have quite necessarily the same story to tell, right? That story was still unfolding. And there's stories that are unfolding right now. There's lives that God is changing right now, and that next year we'll be able to get up here and share what they were going through right now, that they didn't see the end through. They didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then we'll get to benefit from them walking through difficult things, walking through trouble, and get to celebrate with them.
Right, because we truly believe that the best is yet to come.
Let's stand on our feet, everybody. We're going to sing one more song.
some fun though. You guys ready? Come on, put your hands together. I believe that the future is bright. I believe in His promise for me. I believe that He's working and He's not done. The best is yet to come. I know He makes the anxious courageous. I know He makes the doubters believe. I know He won't stop working 'cause He's not done. The best is yet to come. 'Cause I've got this hope in my soul. I know He won't let me go. Lord, I believe Your life in me just begun. The best is yet to come. I believe that He gives second chances. I believe He works all things for good. I believe that He's working and He's not done. The best is yet to come. Hey, I've got this hope in my soul. I know You won't let me go. Lord, I believe with Your life in me, I've just begun. 'Cause I've got this hope in my soul. I know You won't let me go. Lord, I believe with Your life in me, I've just begun. The best is yet to come. Come on, hands up, hands together. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. I've got my hopes high. You make my hopes rise. I've got my hopes high. You hold my whole life. 'Cause I've got this hope in my soul. I know You won't let me go. Lord, I believe with Your life in me, I've just begun. 'Cause I've got this hope in my soul. I know You won't let me go. 'Cause Lord, I believe with Your life in me, I've just begun. The best is yet to come.
So remember, as you go out into your week, the love is the best thing we do.